Hi, welcome to FSW Signals, a podcast from the Institute of Innovative and Emerging Technologies, where we look at the innovative things happening at the college and explore what they might mean about the future we're shaping together. Today, we're glad to sit down with Alex Schimel, Director of Academic Advising here at FSW, to talk about innovation in advising, the leadership it takes to evolve student support, and what those shifts might signal about the future of student success at FSW. Thanks for joining us, Alex.
Glad to be here.
So, you came into higher education after working in law. What drew you to that shift, and what parts of your legal background still show up in how you lead advising today?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of an unusual background. There aren't that many people with law backgrounds in higher education. I started my career in that space in the legal education sector, so that was a little bit of an easier transition from law practice into the education world. But over time, I identified that my true passion was in education writ large, not just in the legal and professional education space. So that brought me over here to the college setting, which I love and which is where my passion really lies. I definitely bring some skills from my legal background into my work, and I think that can be helpful working in groups because I sometimes do have a slightly different perspective or may zone in on certain things that others might pay less attention to. I think as a lawyer, you become very specific with your use of words, thinking very carefully about what a word might mean, even if it's in something as simple as an email or a flyer, really paying attention to the significance of the language that we use when we're communicating with each other and communicating with students. And then attention to detail is a big thing as an attorney as well, and particularly when we're looking at risk. So I have this radar that goes off when I'm thinking about a process or I'm reading some new, material that's been circulated. What are the possible risks that maybe we're not thinking of? And that could be risks of misunderstanding or miscommunication, or risks of solving one problem and potentially causing another, and trying to identify those things and find solutions before they become big problems.
That's awesome. So, when students describe a great advising experience, what do you think in practical terms it is that they're actually describing there?
It's two things or two categories of things that are most important to students. Number one, the ability of an advisor to relate to that student. The students want to feel comfortable. They want to feel that they are able to communicate openly about their experience in school and as a person. And then related to that is a sense of trust. And that trust goes a little bit deeper than that interpersonal feeling of trust of, okay, I trust this person, I feel comfortable to open up to them, but also the trust that the guidance that I'm getting from the person in this advisor seat is reliable. And that's both from a technical perspective on what are the classes that I need for my major, what are the classes that I need to complete my degree, and also if I am opening up about something meaningful and personal in my own life as a student, then is this person giving me guidance that I feel I can rely upon? And so that's a big part of what we focus on in our training for our team. Obviously, everyone we hire comes in with great skills, but those are areas that we really make sure are core skills that our advisors present to our students.
All right, so now we're getting into some good technology questions. So when you think about innovating and advising, what's the difference between like a quick improvement and a real transformation for your area?
So both are important. Quick improvements are not necessarily worse than real transformations because sometimes we do need to pivot quickly, whether something changes in rules or policies beyond our area, or whether we just notice that something is not working. The ability to move quickly can be important, and I think at FSW we're good about both of these kinds of transformations. We're good at taking stock and saying, we need to make a change. how do we change that, and how do we do it quickly without major disruption. But we're really good at those more significant transformations as a school and hopefully as an advising department. And I think the main difference is just the time spent in planning. When we need to make a quick pivot, of course, we're going to notice things later that, oh, maybe we should have done that slightly differently, or maybe we could have communicated that better. It was still something we needed to do, but we could have done that maybe a little bit more thoughtfully. When we make significant transformations, like, for example, our express term, right, where we added a new part to our semester, which is a 12-week portion of the semester as opposed to the standard 14-week. We had a lot of meetings about that with a lot of stakeholders to really talk through what are the potential issues, what are the things that maybe we're not thinking of. I want to make sure that if we do this, we're not breaking another person's process. And so we were really thoughtful about the student experience, about all the different stakeholders, and then we were able to, launch something really thoughtful and something that hopefully makes a much better experience for students in the long term.
Yeah, that's a great example, because I know that part of term, it was the first part of term that I know of that we've added in over 20 years, and there were so many hidden gems or gotchas, whatever you want to look at, to just adding a new part of term. So you and I were talking in the hallway a little bit about all of the innovations and the technology we've pushed forward on the advising side. What is one that you're most proud of that improved the student experience, even if it was in a small way?
There's a lot that I'm proud of here. To zoom out a little bit on that question, I feel just generally everybody who works at FSW has so much to be proud of, whether you are in the classroom or working within a department or doing the landscaping, facilities maintenance. We say that we transform lives, and I feel that we really, really do. I feel that our ability to provide an amazing education to students at a low cost and create all these opportunities for our community, it's amazing. So I really feel proud of just working here. And I mean that truly, not just because I'm being recorded on an FSW podcast. I really mean that. In terms of innovations or things that I've brought to the department, to the advising department, that I'm really proud of, one of them is our Wednesday, Thursday drop-in model. So when I came here, we were predominantly an appointment system for advising. To see an advisor, you had to book an appointment. And sometimes during certain times of year, the wait time to get an appointment could get rather long because we've only got so many advisors and we've got a lot of students, and there are obviously times of year where more students want to see us. We always had this switch that we would flip when we got really close to the start of classes, where we would say, okay, no more appointments. We're just going to do drop-ins 5 days a week. Just come in, see us, first come, first served. And that was enough for a long time to get us through and make sure that we saw every student. But as demand for advising has grown, as our enrollment has grown, we realized that we weren't able to meet demand in this model. And so I came to the advising team and I said, we have to come up with a better way to do this. And I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I think we need to find a way to be able to serve more students throughout the week. And my initial proposal to them was something pretty conservative. I said, okay, what if we take 1 or 2 days a week and we take maybe half the day to just do this type of appointment, a certain category of students that maybe we're getting a little bit bottlenecked. And the team thought about it, and there was a lot of discussion. And then they came back to me with a more radical idea and said, what if we just say Wednesdays and Thursdays all year long, we're going to see students on a drop-in basis. And that way we've got appointments 3 days a week for those students that need that pre-scheduled appointment. They want to know the set time. They want to make sure that they're seeing their assigned advisor that they've been building a relationship with. And then we have Wednesdays and Thursdays for that student that needs to see us soon, that needs to talk to us quickly, that has a more transactional type question. And that has really increased our capacity to see students. use of our services in 2025 versus 2024, we were up 30.7% in overall volume of interactions with students. And a big part of that was this was the first year that we had a whole year running this Wednesday, Thursday drop-in model. So I'm proud of it because I feel like we've increased accessibility for our students. But I'm also really proud of it because this wasn't something that was forced on us by the administration that says you have to meet more students, right? We noticed on our own, hey, demand is getting out of control. We've got to figure something out. And then my team really came to me with the solution. I had an idea, they had a better idea. And, now it's just on me to figure out, okay, how do I market this to the leadership? How do I get, students to start to understand it? But yeah, I'm really proud of it, and I'm proud of the way that it happened.
I love everything about that. And I love how everyone at FSW has like the data on their fingertips when they talk about what they do. I can't get enough of that. My question, Alex, is how has technology changed what students expect from advising?
So you'll probably hear the same thing from me that you might hear from other people across the college, or if you talk to people in the classroom. There's a pace shift that technology has brought on. Students definitely are used to getting things faster in a more digestible format and not really waiting for what they might need. So that ties into what I was talking about before, is we need to find ways to make sure that we're accessible to our students when they need us. So in addition to that drop-in modality, with Jason's team, we've done a lot of work improving our phone callback system, our live chat system. We can honestly say to students that it's a matter of minutes to talk to our department. Now obviously there's things that we can answer in that format. There's things that we can do much better in a deeper format, in a meeting or in one of those drop-in sessions. But being accessible to students when they need us is really important, because they've got a problem now or they have a question now, and we have to make sure that we are meeting that expectation. Where that sometimes becomes challenging is that not everything lends itself to a really simple, succinct answer. Not everything can be given to a student in a 120-character bite in an email. Some things are really complicated and nuanced, and sometimes we really do have to get that student at least on the phone to talk through a complicated scenario. And so that's where we sometimes have to explain to them, hey, this is why we need to do this a little bit of more in-depth way. And this is why I can send this to you in an email, or you can just look at this on our website. It's there. But for what you're asking or your circumstances, we really need to sit down and we need to talk this through. And that, so that's that push and pull between what the students expect and what they want. And then coming into an environment like a college and preparing them for a working world where sometimes things are a little bit different than what you expect, but this is why we have to do it. And so hopefully we're acclimating them to more complicated scenarios they're going to experience in the quote unquote real world.
All right, I have a more nuanced proposal here for you, or idea, and that's a signal that we've been tracking, which is renewed enthusiasm, we'll call it, among employers for durable skills like communication, critical thinking, self-awareness. So what skills do you think matter most right now? And what advice would you give to students to develop them during college, no matter what they're majoring in?
Communication is and will be one of the most important skills for people out in the working world. Even though AI is changing the way that we communicate, and AI allows us to take something we want to say and make it shorter or put some polish on it and set the right tone that they want to communicate, it's still, you still need as an individual, especially a person in the working world, to know what is it that I want to say, what is the information that I want, what is it that I want to communicate. And I can tell sometimes when I get a message from a student that was worked over by AI. And I think that that's great because that means that that student recognized I have something important to say and I want to make sure that I say it right. And so I don't have a problem at all when a student is writing that high stakes email or they're submitting a petition for something, that they're using AI to make sure that they know what to say and how to say it. I think there's a lot of learning that can be done from that, right? That if they see examples of AI giving good advice, which it doesn't always, but it often does, then they can learn from that, and then eventually they'll be able to do that on their own. They may not have to lean on AI. So communication, number one. And then number two, information literacy. There's so much information out there. There's so much misinformation, even just about the college journey. A student just goes on Google or goes on an AI platform and tries to figure out, what do I need to do in order to get into this career? What classes do I need to pursue this pathway? We're not quite there yet that a bot or AI can tell you that perfectly. It can do a lot, right? And that holds true in most professional settings. It's good enough, but sometimes good enough is not good enough. And so I think being able to identify this is good information, this is enough information to act on, or I need more, I don't even know enough to fully understand what's being presented to me. And then also being able to say, this seems bogus, right? Just being able to say, hey, I asked a question, I got information back. That doesn't sound right. I don't want to go forward with that. And I think in our classrooms, we reinforce that. They're learning when students use AI incorrectly or inappropriately for their learning context, whether it's you shouldn't have used AI for this task, or whether it's used AI, it was okay, but the information I got back was bogus and I still went forward with it. And I think that's a really important thing that's happening in the classroom is helping students understand like, oh, this is not perfect. I need to know something that I bring to the conversation with AI and with people that I'm, using AI as a tool to communicate with. So I think information literacy, that's so huge for people to really be able to tell the difference, right? Use the term signal here, right? Like signal and noise, you hear a lot of people talking about now. Being able to tell the difference, that's really hard. But hopefully here as a college, we're doing the best we can to support students through that.
Well, thank you for joining us, Alex, and thank you for tuning in to episode 4 of Signals. If there's anything you'd like to hear us talk about, please let us know, and we'd love to touch on it. See you next time.